Hi everyone, it's me, Rebecca, the Colorful Book Nester, and on this channel I often discuss about books, adult coloring, and thoughts of an empty nester. But today it's all about books. Well, plans for books and my October TBR. All right, everyone. This one's going to be a little different. Now, since for the past 2 years, I have been doing my book Tic Tac Toe, which is 9 potential reads every month that are randomly chosen by using a number system in combination with my Goodreads list. And this was an attempt to get through my physical bookshelves. And I have to say, in 2 years, I think I've read over 50 to 60 books off of my shelves alone, and I've been able to clear something like 65 or 70 of those books, because sometimes you get a book and you just DNF it, right? And the same principle of when you sort your books for a move was every month I was going through. So at the minute that book, whatever number it correlated with, would show up, I always listened to my gut and was like, what do I feel about it? Well, since moving, this isn't such an option right now, because all of my physical books that I did decide to move and continue to store and move again in the future are locked up at our storage facility, and they're not here. None of these books are mine. As I've said before, these are my husband's books. All right, guys, I went over to get my cup of tea. It was brewing, and today my tea, I'm being brought to you by Lady Lavender. It is from the Tea Spot. It's a lovely infusion of Earl Grey, lavender, and vanilla. I might have highlighted it before on previous videos. It is one of my favorite. I don't have tons of different teas, but when I find something I like, ooh, do I really like it. And this is a lovely one. October TBR, and what are we looking at? Well, I'm going to have my notes down here on my computer just so that I can kind of go through it with you guys. So again, we're talking about books that are going to be on my Kindle, so I'm just going to pop in the pictures over here. And the first one that came up, I was actually really psyched about. So it's one that I had, and you have to say, it's October, so I am looking for spooky. I am looking for creepy. I'm looking for thrillers. I'm also looking for fun, magical stuff going on. So really kind of keeping in that mood. And that's how this TBR was kind of developed. Again, their placement on this Tic Tac Toe is definitely random, but, well, all except for one, but I'll explain that in a minute. And so their placement is random, but these books I did kind of curate for this particular TBR, but they're all ones that are either on my Kindle or in the Victorian ones, I can almost get like free ones. So that's kind of good. Still on Kindle. And I keep saying Kindle, I mean e-reader. I am right now experimenting with, I think it's Kobo, don't know what, Kobo. Right now, had a little bit of a hiccup, but at some point I want to do a video which kind of talks to you about me transitioning to digital and what I found that I liked and what I found that I haven't liked. So I'm hoping to have more of a discussion about that. So without further ado, let's get on with this first book. I can ramble, can't I? Let's see. Well, let me get my window straight. So this one is definitely in the spooky, thriller, creepy, murder, yucky, uncomfortable. So I think those are good descriptions. It's called The Butterfly Garden. It is #1 in the Collector series. I was taking a look and I was trying to see in the Collector series, it looks like there's 4 books in this, and don't know much about it. It was one, I'm like, how did I even get this? And it's the classic, oh, it was probably a free Kindle offer. You know, whenever you get, I think in the month you get a Kindle Reads. And so I've noticed I must have downloaded a bunch, but hey, it's working out for me right now. At least I have something to read. But this one sounds really right up my alley for October. And it's basically, well, let me just read the blurb from Goodreads, just a little bit of it. In this garden grow luscious flowers, shady trees, and a collection of precious butterflies. Young women who have been kidnapped and intricately tattooed to resemble their namesakes. Overseeing it all is the gardener, a brutal, twisted man obsessed with capturing and preserving his lovely specimens. Okay, creep. You take something beautiful like butterflies and gardening, and they just went deep and dark. This is reminding me of, and is it Kiss the Girls, the movie, where the guy was kind of like, he was gathering and kidnapping women that all had these amazing talents, and of course they were all beautiful. It was kind of like to create this beautiful thing. So it sounds like it has those similar vibes. The funny thing is it does have a star rating of over 4.03, which tells me, hey, that's going to be probably pretty good. It has over 12,000 reviews, and to still have that number, that's pretty good. But of course, the minute you go down, start looking at reviews at all, which I use reviews very lightly, but I do look at them usually when choosing a book, just to make sure that there isn't any things that I really dislike, or that somebody mentions. And I look at the low stars, I look at the high stars, I look at both, but I'm looking for those specifics. This one with a 4.03 star rating sounds pretty promising out of over 12,000, but I am really excited about it. It sounds really creepy. It's written by Hutchison, so that is in square number 1 up in the corner. The next one that we're going to be looking at, let's see if we go over, is Daughters of the Lake. Woo. Yeah, this is supposed to be a lot smoother. Can you tell? Well, okay. Hold on one moment. Experiencing technical difficulties. Best laid plans. I thought I had this all planned out where it'd be like really quick, and no, it's called technical difficulties. Technically, I'm difficult for technology to work with. All right, so the next one we're looking at is Daughters of the Lake. Again, this is another one that I think probably was one of the suggestions. I remember there was a couple years there that I was going and doing that, where you get to pick one book a month and have it sent to your Kindle. I kind of stopped myself doing that because the numbers on the Kindle were really going up. So this one is Daughters of the Lake. It's written by Wendy Webb. Let's see. Anything special about this one? Don't know. Just looking. So this one looks really spooky. I don't know if this is one I'm going to get to, because I kind of already have in my head which ones I'm probably going to do. Once they all landed on the board, I kind of figured that out. But I love the cover. I think it's an amazing one. It also gets 3.99 stars, which is pretty good. And it basically talks about that her marriage is ended. The main character, Kate, is now going to Lake Superior to pull herself together, her parents' home. And there's a discovery of a murdered woman that washed up on the shallows. And Kate's having dreams. And that woman, when she's washed up in this vintage clothing, there's actually an infant that's wrapped in that with this woman. So just sounds like it's going to be one of those time of things, like one thing happening in a different timeline, and somehow through dreams and through probably researching, we kind of are going to find out who that woman is and the whole thing about the child. So, but the cover work, good on you, whoever did it. It's very captivating. So the next one is really fun. This one is going to be my actual buddy read for the month. Now, something I do every month, I do a buddy read with Fiona over at Reads and Eats. This one is the one that I give her like 3 choices, and then she picks one from that. And this is one actually sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. It is Love, Lies, and Hocus Pocus Beginnings. And it's the Lily Singer Adventures, number 1 in the series by Lydia Shearer, I think is her name. Oh, here we go. Opening is saving the world is such a bother when it makes you late for tea. So true. That's why I don't save the world. Cold tea is nothing to be joking about, is it? No. So she's a book-loving wizard. Gotta love that. And she managed library archives. Okay, so we've got a book-loving wizard and library archives. I'm happy. She sleeps, of course. In between, she studies magic and tries to keep her witch friend Sebastian from dragging her into trouble. Unfortunately, trouble comes looking for her on a regular basis. So it's Sebastian, and it is Lily. I looked at it. It doesn't say that. At first, I thought it would be maybe middle grade or YA. It's not. It's just a cozy mystery, urban fantasy with magic. So really looking forward to that. Reading that with Fiona. So now we're going to move on to our next one. Now this introduces Victober. So I have placed on here at least 4, if not 5 books, which actually all 5 are considered as would be Victober appropriate. And the reason I did this was because I wanted to go out. I have not had great successful Victobers. The genre is hard for me to read in the fact that I'm such a slow reader, and giving up a whole month to maybe just 1 or 2 books because of their length. And the ones that I knew about and were familiar with and thought, oh, I need to read these because that's what you do, they all were really long books in general, because every Dickens book and all those guys are really long. So I wanted to kind of have control over some and go look for some alternates. So something that I didn't normally think about in Victober, and not thinking about it, that Bram Stoker was an author in the Victorian times. Mary Shelley was too. I mean, that whole period, actually, there's a lot of scary. That was the other thing I wanted. I wanted scary because it's October, and I did do a Wilkie Collins a couple years ago. It was fine. It was The Woman in White. But I wanted to kind of focus on that. And so I went ahead and chose Dracula as one of the possible ones that I would love to read, because I just feel like it hits October perfectly. The next book, now this is the one in the center square. Now this one I deliberately placed. So my center square one, of course, is the one that's key to me getting a Tic Tac Toe in any direction. So you always want to put your symbol in that center square first. This was important because this is the beginning of a murder mystery book club. Well, not a beginning. We've done a couple this summer. We did a summer murder mystery book club with Kate Howe. She has now extended it, and this is our October read. And now this one is not on Kindle because I actually went to Better World Books and bought just book. Now look how small it is. I've already opened it because, but I wanted to see, this is how it came. And the thing is that they didn't charge me shipping. It was one little book. The book was $3.98, and I got it here. But because it's an older Agatha Christie, I kind of like the old covers and everything. I went out on Better World Books and was able to find it. And like I said, $3.98, and that is Agatha Christie's Halloween Party. So we are reading this for October to have a discussion, I believe, on Halloween itself on that Saturday. I think it's a Saturday for Halloween this year. And we have Zoom meetings about it. I have only been able to go to 2 of the 3 in the summer, and I loved them. The ladies there, and it is all ladies at this point, but come on guys, have been really enjoyable, really insightful, and it's a lighthearted, not heavy type of a book discussion. But we're reading Agatha Christie's Halloween Party. So this is the only one that I have in physical because I was actually able to buy it. And again, Better World Books are great about that. If you're going out and you can get used ones. This is where I donated tons of my books, so I'm kind of happy to be getting some back. And for $3.98 and free shipping, awesome. The next book that we're going to be talking about, though, is The Voyage of the Beagle. Now, I know that this would be, I don't know, you would probably consider it more nonfiction. It is written by Charles Darwin, and it was written in Victorian times. In fact, Charles Darwin and Darwinism is so much of an influence throughout the Victorian writings, the whole evolution and the discussions of that. There's a book later on that I think kind of goes along with it, but it was fascinating at the time. That was the science being spoken of, critically, or however you want to look at it. It was a really big thing. And kind of find out, Charles Darwin, who wrote The Origin of Species and all that, so he's an author, so it makes him technically a Victorian author. So if you're looking for something that is not, that is science or nonfiction based for Victober, this would be one. And it's The Voyage of the Beagle. The Beagle was the name of the ship that he took around whenever he went to the Galapagos Islands and New Zealand and all those places. and it's almost written like his diary and what he did on day to day. I have read a couple of the reviews because I was very leery about this. Now, this book has 480 pages, and I have to say, if I don't get to it during this, it is definitely one staying on my want to read at some point, because they say it's actually very endearing, it's very easy to read, and it just talks about his exploits from 1831 to 1836. So that's definitely one that if you want more of a nonfiction read and you want to do an ode to Victober, he was a Victorian author, so I would think it would count. All right, now on to our next. Now, the bottom three here are all for Victober, but they are different options than what I've heard other people talk about all the time, and they're all much shorter than a lot. So this is really, I know that's a horrible way to choose a book, but when you're trying to actually, get through and be able to read, and I know how slowly I read, and I'm really trying to complete books. I mean, I DNF books if I feel the need to, but I really want to get through books that I, if I pick them up. So, and not carry them over from month to month, because I found that that's really kept me motivated. So this is The Library Window. It's got the word library in it, but it is the story of the seen and unseen. That's like this little extra blurb on this book, which is really cool. And it's written by somebody that I had never heard of, and that's Margaret Oliphant, and I believe she's Scottish, and it is a ghost story. And I was reading it because people wrote that she wrote with humor. I have never heard of her. She has quite a lot of writing from the Victorian times, and of course it's 74 pages. Again, not the best way to choose a book, but it's something I have to take into consideration, and I found it really interesting. One of the things it says, and it's something about reading Victorian literature that I really need to be thinking about, is that it's a ghost story that has been rewritten many, many times. And the thing is during, Victorian times, we were seeing things being written for the first time. So, Arthur Conan Doyle was writing, and even Charles Dickens. Nobody had really written the way these prolific writers were writing. And so this is the original, but I have consumed so many of the copies years and years later that have been tuned and changed up and made more modern, that sometimes I read these previous ones and go, oh God, this is so predictable. But it is, because everybody's copied. This is the master. It's kind of like going, well, blue jeans in general are made of denim. What makes Levi's special? Well, because they were the first ones that really mass marketed blue jeans and sold it to the working man and was able to get it out. And, so, it's kind of like thinking like that you have to be thinking, I'm reading the originals of these. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be interesting. It's definitely one I want to try to get to. Now, the next couple ones are ones that probably people, I would think, definitely know about. And that is The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad and The Island of Dr. Moreau. Now, both of these, I know Heart of Darkness was required reading for me in high school. I cannot tell you I remember anything about it. My English teachers just went, in a collective, moan. It only gets a 3.44. Again, I think sometimes these ratings will keep going down because people are trying to place these books in modern day and holding them to modern day standards. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it does change your experience than the people who would have been reading them in Victorian times. And I do like to kind of think like that, like how must this been like in Victorian times? Again, 95 pages. I know. Everybody's going to berate me. I get it. And then the last one, which I'm really interested in trying to read, and that is The Island of Dr. Moreau. Now, I know that Kate Howe actually has this on her list. I was very excited to see that she's going to be reading as well. It's by H.G. Wells. For some reason, that never even clicked that he was a Victorian author. I mean, seriously? And that there was sci-fi type of things being written at the time. Again, another dark, kind of like Heart of Darkness. I wanted dark and spooky, so these also fit that bill. This one is more of It's a mysterious island with a crazy, crazy doctor who I think is mix-mashing people and animals together. You know, it's kind of that whole Frankenstein and the anatomy and making your own super race or whatever. I'm sure it goes really well. I'm sure it's a wonderful, lovely, you know, they're having tea parties probably and everything on the island of Dr. Moreau. I'm sure it's not scary at all. It better be scary. It better be creepy. It better be. That's why I'm putting it in my October TBR, for goodness sakes. Okay, enough of that. So those are my 9 books that I'm choosing from. Definitely need to be planning on reading Love, Lies, and Hocus Pocus, and then the Agatha Christie Halloween Party. I'm hoping then to be able to easily read Margaret Oliphant's the Library Window, and then be able to hop to the other side and do the Island of Dr. Moreau, and then if I can squeeze in the Butterfly Garden. In fact, I might go up to the Butterfly Garden first and then do the island. I don't know. I'm very excited about October's reads. I also have one other thing that I have done, which is I have opened a can of worms, and I've gone on to NetGalley, and I actually have been approved, which I can't believe because I've never been on NetGalley. I did get approved for a book to review, and that one comes out like October 26th, and so I'll be fitting that one in as well and doing a full review on that book because that's part of the agreement with NetGalley. So I want to keep up with that agreement. So it might be even one more. So it's very ambitious. This one is a little different for October, but I sure am looking forward to it. Thanks for checking in. Hope you have a great day. And remember, keep turning those pages.